Learning about world issues and its awareness is more crucial than ever. MUN is a diplomatic initiative, a preeminent locus where one finds an ideal platform to explore, evolve, and improve one's capabilities. It is the only rostrum that, besides nourishing the speaking capabilities, also nurturifies the art of negotiation, cooperation, and compromise, which are the best interests of mobilizing international cooperation to resolve issues and problems that affect almost every country on the earth. Respect and cooperation being the fundamentals of the debate, it allows every student to understand and analyze the working of existing international bodies and the cooperation to help in solving the planetary issues and challenges. To quote Ban Ki-moon, former United Nations Secretary General, you are here to step into the shoes of the UN ambassadors, to draft resolutions, to plot strategy, to negotiate with your allies as well as your adversaries. Your goal may be to resolve a conflict, to cope with a natural disaster, or to bring nations together on an issue like climate change. You may be playing a role, but you are also preparing for life. You are acting as global citizens. I would now like to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor of the ICFAI University, Dehradun, Professor Dr. Ram Karan Singh, sir, to enlighten the audience about our prestigious institution, the ICFAI University, Dehradun. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, you all. I hope I am audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, you are clearly audible.
Yeah. I am happy to notice that more than 126 participants has joined. And I am very happy to see the guest of the day, Mr. Rajiv Garg and Ms. Ashita Mithal from UNODC. And I am proud to introduce the ICFAI system as a whole, which has a history of over 4 decades and is spread in Pan-India, 11 university and 9 business school. And I am proud to introduce about the ICFAI University Dehradun system, which has a 4 vibrant schools: School of Law, School of Management, School of Applied Science and Technology, and School of Education. And we are imparting the education, rather quality education, close to 2,200 students. And out of that, the School of Law is the most vibrant school at present. I'm also happy to highlight that the School of Law organized events around the year at a national and international levels, linked with the moot court activities, linked with the major issues of the United Nations, by which not only the ICFAI system and its student community is getting benefited, but they are raising the issues which are important at a national and international level. So I wish all the best to the ICFAI Law School for organizing this kind of events, and moreover connecting with the people who has wide range of experience, such as Mr. Rajiv Garg and Ms. Ashita Mithal. They are aware with the national and international things happening around, and giving the opportunity to student community to get benefited with this kind of events. I'm also happy to share that I myself had the opportunity to work with a very prominent organizations like Terry University system, which was very vibrant system at a time, in the time of Dr. R.K. Pachauri, when he used to be IPCC chairman. And many United Nations agencies used to be linked. Even I was the lead author of IPCC reports in some of the committees, and aware with the climate change related issues and various other issues which are pressing in the nature, not only for India, for global society as a whole. So I am very happy to introduce the ICFAI system, ICFAI University system, and little bit about the things related to United Nations. United Nations is an organization by which the world community is getting benefited, and lot of things can be talked about it. But without wasting much of the time, I thank you all for organizing this event, and inviting the prominent people of the nation Mr. Rajiv Garg and Ms. Ashita Mithal. Now this is up to you, Tanya Bazla. Please go ahead with the program.
Thank you very much, sir. I now call upon Honorable Assistant Dean of the ICFAI University, Dehradun, Dr. Monica Karola, ma'am, to kindly brief the spectators about the ICFAI Law School here and about the Model United Nations to be held today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tanya, and a warm welcome to all the people who are assembled for this event. I would also like to pay my regards to the chief guest and the guest of honor and our respected Vice Chancellor, sir, Registrar, sir, the committees, which is the Youth Parliamentary Committee, which is organizing this event, and all the participants. I welcome you to this event, which is organized by ICFAI Law School. A little word about ICFAI Law School would be appropriate to inform you that ICFAI Law School, which was established with the objective of developing a new generation of legal professionals through this comprehensive and contemporary body of knowledge that we are imparting through our updated curriculum. And this helps by integrating subjects like management and humanities, which are there in our blended classes, and we provide students an analytical aspect of how the law can be used in order to improve the society and to help society grow as such. So ICFAI Law School has been generating knowledge through participation of external experts and internal intellectual capacity through enhancement of programs like these. This is an opportunity for students to debate and to see that how they can contribute to the learning process of events which are happening internationally and nationally by participating in these kind of parliamentary debates. And it's an excellent opportunity, a platform which helps to enhance their skills, sensitize them to world issues, and also make them future ready as leaders of tomorrow. This Model United Nations has been initiated by the third edition of the National Model United Nations Youth Parliamentary Society of ICFAI Law School. And its objective is to create awareness relating to all recent topics with important issues like the Ukrainian issue, gender equality issue, climate changes issues, and many other issues like global health and the future of the world. So if our leaders today could have debated or mediated in issues, maybe the problems that are faced today would not have been there. So we expect that all the participants who have come here take away with them the learning process that they will be exposed to and be sensitized to these topics, which are extremely important for the world community today. So with these words, I welcome everyone to this event organized by ICFAI Law School, the ICFAI University, Dehradun, and I thank the chief guest and the guest of honor for being so kind enough to give their time for this valuable but important event, which will help students be more familiar and be able to hone their skills. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the participants. And over to you, Tanya.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You have very rightly said that this MUN is going to enhance and sensitize the participant skills and make them ready for future challenges. Proceeding further, I now call upon Ms. Tanya Durrani to say a few words about our guest of honor for the day. Over to you, ma'am.
I would now like to invite Mr. Rajiv Garg, sir, to address the audience with a few words owing to his kind presence and gracing the event today. Mr. Rajiv Garg, sir, is a retired IAS officer posted in USA for over 18 years. Sir has done BTech Computer Science Engineering from IIT Delhi and MBA from IFT Delhi. He has been CEO of USA-based MNC in SFO, having corporate experience in India and USA. Sir has a total of 42 plus years of work experience, currently a trainer for IAS, PCS and all competitions including English speaking and soft skills for MNC's interviews. It is an honorable moment for our institute to have your prestigious presence in today's event. I am honored to invite you as the guest of honor at today's ICFAI Model United Nations. Over to you, sir. Please address the gathering, sir.
Good morning to all of you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, the August gathering, and my dear students. It certainly is a platform through which one can certainly share and impart. Most of us should have the opportunity to have more such platforms to address from. So I once again thank you all to have given me an opportunity. To start with, all my qualifications which the ma'am has been almost, I would say, Sanya ma'am has been very liberal in talking about my qualifications. Now, I, being a technocrat, also a management person, and lastly, being a civil servant, along with having been allowed to use my technology through which I have developed quite a few products of which I am the creator. Today, my purpose of addressing you all is to talk about the global role which all of us are expected to play. We cannot any longer live the life of typical, very often said word like frog in the well. Now, a frog in the well is certainly, because of the long association with the well, think that the world is dark. But during monsoons, when he is thrown out of the well, he realizes that the world is not dark. It is full of light. And therefore, initially, he refused to believe. But after some time, when he does realize, no, the world is bright, full of light. And then he realizes the inadequacies, which he has not developed the skills, because of which he is not able to deliver what he was able to deliver in the well. Now, I very clearly want to share you all that you all are going to be graduates, postgraduates, and I really am not very sure if your university is also imparting doctorate. And I'm certainly, sir, overwhelmed by the Vice Chancellor for his postdoctoral degree. How I wish I could have got an opportunity to be at least a PhD. Anyway, sir, with very warm honor to you, sir, that you are there to listen to my words. Now, I must share with you that the profession of law is a part of one of the three legs of our constitution. The other being legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, judiciary certainly is playing an autonomous, independent role. But the three legs, though being independent, autonomous, still are accountable to each other. It's a beautiful constitution of our country. Now, for me, for all of us, I'm sure you all will agree, country comes first. Second is the constitution. Why? Because if we want to serve the country, then the only way is to serve the constitution. So for me, constitution is the most honorable Granth. We may call it by any name, that doesn't matter, whether Bible or Vedas or Upanishads or whatever. Now, having said that, our prime job is to protect and serve Constitution as it is today, more so in the field of judiciary, because judiciary ensures equality, opportunity to all, regardless of their place of birth, level of birth, economic status, or even for that matter, educational status. So therefore, what I personally feel that judiciary out of the three legs has one of the most important role to play. But unfortunately, with due apologies to all you luminaries, I must say, legal profession, legal help has become so costly. It has become so difficult to get. And also because of the population of our country, it has become so delayed decision making that many a times the judgments are of no practical value. The victim either has already expired or he has wasted the major portion, the most important part of his life without getting the justice. So the first thing that I personally feel to share and advise you all, kindly make your judiciary your goal, not only for earning, but besides earning, also serving those who are not getting the opportunity to be heard or even represented. That is judiciary. But without judiciary, I also feel the students of management, now let us be very clear, the world is slowly getting a global village. So we cannot afford to be either regional or even national. We got to be international. And very slowly, India has to lead the world, and we have the potential. And if we read our history from almost 3000 BC, we have been the leader all throughout. So therefore, we once again will have to rise up to the occasion and play the role of superpower along with being Vishwa Guru. We are moving in that direction. Today, if you see, our Prime Minister Modi is being looked upon by practically the entire world, whether it is the Western Bloc or Eastern Bloc, as a person who can be relied upon and act as a mediator between the war going on between Russia and Ukraine. So therefore, we are there. We are almost there, and we got to take it forward. Another thing I want to share with my young friends, the youth of today, 67% of our population almost is under 35. So the country's future lies on you. It is your role that you have to take it forward to the status of superpower. And believe me, if you fail the country. And once you fail the country, according to me, you have failed your creator, who has given you an opportunity to serve the country. So the country no longer is India alone. It is the India at large. Large means the greater India. In history also, we have read greater India, where all the nearby countries used to be under India. I'm not saying that geographically we should again start controlling them, but we can certainly play the role of what UN was made for. after the finish of Second World War, why UN was made? UN was made to ensure that each country, whether small, large, or rich, poor, they should be able to lead a sovereign, independent life. And their population, their citizens should be able to grow and have equal opportunity of whatever world is moving for. Last thing which I want to bring to your notice, my dear students, please, for God's sake, don't think that if you do your LLB, LLM, or your MBA or other disciplines, those degrees are just entry passes to life. They are not complete in themselves. You got to increase your knowledge base in as many fields as possible. Why? Because you have to have applications of each knowledge into other knowledge, other subject. For example, let us talk about law. Now, law today has got a tremendous contribution to make towards MNCs, multinational companies. Now, multinational companies need corporate expertise. Why? Because in order to grow, they got to either merge or being acquired. Now, so the world is moving towards global internalization. I'm sure your university must be teaching and you must be having those subjects where you are exposed to the prevailing law, their rules and regulations of different countries. And you got to, if not an expert, at least be aware of what is happening all over the world. With all these words, I must say, please make sure, don't fail India. You are more than 67% today. India is the youngest country in the world. It is the largest skillful country, English-speaking country. Now, we are very powerful. Therefore, please don't fail our country, contribute to the country, and in turn, contribute to the world. And we become what we were throughout these 5,000 years of our history. With these words, I once again thank the august gathering and such intellectuals to have given me an opportunity to talk. Thank you so very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful and enlightening speech. You have very correctly said that we need to get into the judicial system to serve those who are not getting an opportunity to be heard. And your line that hit me the most was, if we want to serve the country, the only way is to serve the Constitution. Thank you very much, sir. We are honored and delighted to have you with us. Proceeding further, I now call upon Honorable Registrar, Sir, of the ICFAI University, Dehradun, Brigadier Rajiv Sethi, sir, to introduce our chief guest for the day. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Tanya. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
sir,
you
you're
hear me?
clearly audible.
Yeah.
Yes, you're clearly audible.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I've been given the onerous responsibility of introducing Ms. Ashita Mithal. Well, firstly, I must say that I'm grateful to her because as the General Secretary for this event, Lavish came to me. I told him that, okay, just let me give her a call in case she is going to be joining. She is a very busy lady and she is a pretty senior person in the hierarchy. So, but it's nice of her to have accepted the invitation at a short notice and be present with us. Ms. Mithal is the regional representative of the United Nations Office for Drug and Crime, the regional office for Central Asia. She is based in Tashkent since 2014. In her current role, She covers the 5 Central Asian countries, that is Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, as well as 3 countries in the Southern Caucasus, that is Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. She has been with the United Nations Office for Drug and Crime since 1995. She served as a deputy representative in the UN ODC country office in Afghanistan from 2009 to 2014. And I remember a few times when I spoke to her when there was an attack on her own office and they had to go down in the lockdown. And just to share a small incident, when I was commanding a unit in Jammu and Kashmir, she visited me. And while she was crossing, they had gone for the night firing. That is, we were to show her as to how the weapons are fired in the night. While she was coming back across a iron bridge, small iron bridge, the militants started firing. And she barely escaped and was always grateful that she would never come back into the Jammu and Kashmir areas, which were actually very heavily terrorist infested during that time. She has worked extensively with the Society on Drug Use Prevention, Treatment, and Rehabilitation, and is well recognized for her pioneer work in the field. Her work is nuanced with health, gender, human rights, and sustainable development perspectives. I also would like to share that she has participated in a number of international MUNs as the chief guest and has a vast amount of experience in addressing students and the issues that they are facing. We welcome Ms. Ashita Mithal and thank her for accepting our invitation at short notice and gracing her presence today. Back to you, Tanya.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to call upon Ms. Ashita Mithal, ma'am, to address the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Brigadier Sethi, for also introducing me. But let me first thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ramkaran Singh, and also Ms. Tanya Bachela, who is the member of the Youth Parliament Society, for inviting me to this very, very interesting seminar, which is dedicated to the Model United Nations. It's a pleasure for me to connect with the ICFAI University. I have to say I've heard very good things about the ICFAI University, especially about your law school. I also had the privilege as Brigadier Sethi's friend to visit ICFAI University some years back and was very impressed with the infrastructure that you've created. The fact that you're hosting the Model United Nations Conference is also greatly attributable to the culture that the ICFAI University is promoting amongst the students, not only giving them book knowledge, but also looking at practical ways in connecting and preparing you to become not only good national citizens, but also global citizens. I have served with the United Nations now for over 30 years, but I can tell you that despite everything, you can be global, you can be everywhere, but dil to Hindustani hai. And as we said, we are today as Indians, a population of 1.4 billion people, and nearly 67% is below the age of 35. It means we are going through a demographic dividend. But it's also equally important that we prepare our young people to understand and cultivate global values. We also should and be investing in the Human Development Index that prepares our young people to be proud of the development and the fruits of development that the country needs to reap. It's a pleasure, as I said, to join this Model United Nations Conference. And it's also, I believe, it's your engagement to show the power of collective action to address the challenges that we are all facing today, ranging from climate change, inequalities, access to justice, conflicts, and much more. It is deeply painful for us to see a triple conflict that is now panning out globally. The last 2 years, 2020 and 2021, showed us what the ravages of a pandemic can mean, not for one country, but for the entire world. But along with that, for our region, we've also seen conflicts in our neighborhood. We've also seen a conflict panning out in Ukraine, which is really a very painful process. And as we open any television, any newspaper, for us to see when we start investing in war, we take away the fruits of development, not only for that country and systematically destroy it, but also to see how it impacts the whole world. As I was growing up, I was told there will be a dream of a world without borders. But we realized also that, especially during the pandemic, that the lockdowns meant also closing borders, but also the wars have never ceased. And we've seen in the increasing conflicts in recent times too. COVID-19 has changed our world, causing immense tragedy and loss of life. With over 493 million cases worldwide and 6.17 million deaths globally, this has had far-reaching consequences across the world. The world continues to face the consequences of the pandemic, a health crisis, economic disaster, human rights emergencies rolled out into one unprecedented challenge. Some 120 million people have fallen back into extreme poverty, and the equivalent of 255 million full-time jobs have been lost. We ourselves in India have witnessed the impact when we saw hundreds and thousands of poor people being displaced from their own homes and trying to walk back to their villages. It meant that we need to touch the core of our basic values of humanity that allow us to live with dignity. This is the virus that knows no borders, and it teaches us that while we close borders, homes and spaces with the fear of transmission, the response requires the world to come together. And I urge and I emphasize that this is a critical value. We must be proud of the nation where we are born, but we must also be prepared to be able to be a global citizens and think also globally. This pandemic affected international relations amongst nations, impacts on human rights and health of people. It's my firm belief that there cannot be any sustainable development without rule of law, and there can be no rule of law without human rights. And as law students, you perhaps have noticed the inequalities and iniquities that have led to increased vulnerabilities and have challenged the rights of life of the most vulnerable people. This is true at both micro and macro level. You know, when the vaccines came out, most of the rich countries tried to secure themselves. Sometimes they had surplus vaccines more than what was required, 3 times or 4 times. And that's where internationalism, multilateralism steps in. Protecting the human rights of persons in vulnerable and marginalized situations is critical to the success of the response. The virus, as I said, has no borders, no boundaries. If the housekeeper in your house is infected with COVID-19, you will certainly get infected. So don't forget that every person, every citizen, every person on this earth needs to be protected. You can think globally, but you must act locally also. Acts of solidarity must be strengthened for equal access to save lives. Issues of intellectual property rights for vaccine production and other measures pose some barriers and obstacles to public good. And therefore, we must know Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is a small family. And therefore, that value, while we take pride in our citizenships, must not forget the basic principle, the basic tenets that are embedded in the sentence that says really the phrase that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are a small family. Young people have been hit hard by the COVID crisis since the start of the pandemic. Over 130 million school children globally have missed more than 3/4 of their in-person learning time. Those who had the computers, those who were able to access, and those universities and schools that actually looked at hybrid forms of adapting their school curricula did manage. But we should also not forget that there is a digital divide. Not everybody has access to that resources. So therefore, in preparing for the future, we need to also make sure that we share these resources, these computers, these digital technologies with everybody. We cannot continue to have the haves and the have-nots. Youth has also been twice as likely as older employees to lose their jobs. Isolation, poverty, and the lack of perspectives have the legacy of the pandemic. with negative consequences for young people's psychological resilience and increased vulnerability to substance use. We know depression is one of the #1 illness, but after the pandemic, what happened? So many people actually fell out because they were depressed. It was unreal for us to be locked in. Did you feel the tensions when you were locked in at home, when you were not allowed to go outside, or you were told that you have to wear the mask if you have to come out? You felt trapped. But can you also think as law students, what happens to the countries where a large number of people are put behind bars for real or unreal reasons and justice is not delivered? Think of those who are contained, those who are not had full access to justice end up being in prisons. And we as UNODC also work on minimum standards of treatment of prisoners. We recognize that the fragilities exposed by the pandemic highlight the cost of inequalities in access not only to food and healthcare, but overall access to response measures. New methods of development cooperation is the need of the hour to deliver resource transfer at scale. We've seen some very good examples in India when food was transferred to the most vulnerable homes. But we also know that food is not the only thing. You also require cash transfers. Increased transparency and better governance and navigate around the geopolitical rivalries, which is extremely important. As I said, we are forced as a world into triple crisis of food insecurity and also conflicts. How do we provide liquidity supports to countries that face a severe economic downturn and direct impact on sustainable development? Over 12 trillions were mobilized quickly to mitigate impact with major economies, but the inequalities and iniquities were very, very pronounced. Not everybody could access those resources. And sometimes even when you had the resources, the virus actually dodged us and it continued to mutate. The pandemic has also shifted drug markets, patterns of use and trafficking trends, further threatening health, safety, security, and development. It has heightened the vulnerabilities to terrorism, worsened inequalities, and driven up poverty. Vulnerable people are at greater risk of being further marginalized, which further increases their susceptibility to recruitment by terrorist groups. The COVID crisis has also deepened vulnerabilities to human trafficking. The pandemic has been a test demonstrating multilateral cooperation is a key to overcoming global challenges. During the first month of the crisis, the world leaders had echoed the concept of ever more United Nations and called on to focus on early warning systems, dealing effectively with crisis and access to vaccines. A disease with no respect for borders, as I said, requires a collective response. And I'm glad while we did the vaccine diplomacy, we should also make sure that our own also have full access to those vaccines. The United Nations is committed to support the member states as we push to build a sustainable and equitable world. We rely on you, the younger generation, and we strive to empower you to achieve your full potential, realize your rights, and positive agents of change in your communities. We have seen how international cooperation and solidarity saved lives and prevented communities and economies from falling into catastrophic dysfunctions during the pandemic. Over 160 nations have joined the COVAX initiative, COVID-19 vaccines globally accessed, which aims to provide equitable access to vaccines. As of 4th of April, 2022, over 11.2 million vaccines have been administered globally. These efforts should go hand in hand with initiatives to raise youth awareness of the true dangers of drugs, crime, corruption, and terrorism, and support informed information-based decision-making based on real true facts and not on perceptions. Youth is our future, and today's youth will be responsible for tomorrow's sustainable, peace, and effective societies. We in UNODC want to hear your ideas on how we can best reach young people with right information, engage them in policy dialogues and decision-making processes, and amplify voices, and help countries fully leverage the power of youth for building healthier and safer world. Enabling youth participation is key commitment of UNODC's global strategy for 21 to 25 across all our programs, and with special focus on leveraging the potential of young people. For 10 years, the Youth Forum has been also put in place as part of a commission. We invite always young people to talk about their perceptions on drug use and drug trafficking. More than 100 countries participate. I hope that there will be representation also for ICFAI if the government of India so chooses. And I hope to see you also in the crime commissions. The experience shows that engaging young people has the ability to make a critical difference amongst their peers also. As Brigadier Sethi mentioned, I have served in Afghanistan. And for 5 years when I lived there, it taught me one thing, that it takes too little to be happy. That when you make the decisions and when collective decisions are made without actually looking at the people and the country's interest, you can actually have systems and issues that not only impact the specific country in which international community sits, but also it fails a nation as a whole. Today, Afghanistan is going through a major humanitarian crisis. A major humanitarian crisis. After 2001 to 2022, we now have the Taliban that has taken over. It's to be seen how these huge caches of weapons that are sitting in Afghanistan will impact not only Afghanistan, but the wider region. On the other hand, the conflict in Ukraine will also see that when the illicit economies don't grow, how the illicit economies will grow. But can the world afford to continue to invest to humanitarian aid only? This is a big challenge for all of us. But when we talk about humanitarian aid, we have a large number of organizations within the UN that is also transferring food, also supporting countries with refugees. But that's not the only thing that we need to do. We need to make sure that we have a culture of peace, security, and development that is honed. And जाते जाते मैं दो चीजें आपसे कहना चाहूंगी as students कि basically we must make sure that we also embody some principles of respect for diversity in the culture that we want to promote if you want to become global citizens. The culture of hate will never take us very far. So therefore, if you want to embody the principles of United Nations, you must make sure that you have full respect for diversity. And I don't want to talk about a song that was sung in my prayers, when I went to school. Mandir Banta, Girja Banta, Mat Banto Bhagwan Ko. This is extremely important because today the crisis, as I said, is not limited to one country, one religion, one community. This is impacting all of us. And as law students, my other message to you is, as was said by Mr. Rajiv Garg, that it is our responsibility to develop a culture of rule of law. Access, availability, and acceptability of justice is important. Delay of justice means justice has been denied. So when you start getting into your chairs as law students or wherever you go in your career path, remember that you have to keep the interest of the most vulnerable people at the heart of whatever you do. The day you forget that, I think the principles that ICFAI is trying to promote in you will then be lost. In the words of our UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, young people are the heart of the response of the United Nations. On all these fronts, United Nations and UNODC in particular are your partners in developing comprehensive approaches. I wish you successful model UN and hope that this event will serve to broaden your horizon and networking and become part of the UN efforts on ensuring peace, security, and human rights. To make sure that you have dialogue, discussion, and discourse, and that in the world, one day we will see less conflicts and more human resource development and human development. You are the investment in human capital, but India has that. We need to make sure that we nurture it. We need increasing institutions, education institutions, so our students don't have to run to countries which are ill-equipped to offer quality education. I wish you all the best, and I hope that some of you will one day become part of the United Nations and also serve as global citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. You have very rightly put together the fact that to combat inequalities, injustice, climate change, and the like, we ought to touch our basic core of humanity, which will allow us to live with dignity. And hopefully we will soon have a world without any borders. So thank you, ma'am. Moving on behalf of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Ram Karan Singh, sir, and Registrar Brigadier Rajiv Sethi, sir, I would like to felicitate and extend my heartfelt gratitude towards our esteemed guests present here today. Now, to bring the inaugural session to a graceful end, I request Assistant Professor at the ICFAI University and the Organizing Secretary of this IMUN 2022, Dr. Abhishek Raj, sir, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tanya. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you're clearly audible.
Okay, thank you. Very good morning to one and all present here. I'm glad to take this opportunity to express my vote of thanks. It has been an honor to be a part of this event. On behalf of Youth Parliament Society, ICFAI Law School, the ICFAI University, Dehradun, I would like to extend my heartful gratitude towards our esteemed chief guest, Honorable Ms. Ashita Mithal ma'am, and guest of honor, esteemed Administrator Mr. Rajiv Garg sir, who from their busy schedule managed some time to share their experiences with the students and academicians. I would also extend my thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor of the ICFAI University, Professor Dr. Ram Karan Singh sir, and Honorable Registrar of the ICFAI University, Brigadier Rajiv Sethi sir, who supported a lot in organizing this big event. A very sincere thank to Assistant Dean Madam, Dr. Monica Kharola ma'am, ICFAI Law School Dehradun, and co-convener of Youth Parliament Society, Dr. Vivek Kumar sir. I would also like to thank System Admin for their immense support. A wide round of applause and thanks to all the participants who registered and come here on this virtual platform for participating in this event. Finally, I would like to thank the organizing committee of the ICFAI Model United Nations, especially the student convener, Mr. Lavish Gangwar, Mr. Abhineet, Devashish, and Kritika, Nishka, and all the members who worked day and night to make this event a successful one. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request our Secretary General.
Thank you, Tanya. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're clearly audible.
Thank you. Honorable dignitaries, respected faculty members, delegates, and members of organizing committee, a very good morning to all. It has been a common dream of all of us to organize ICFAI Model United Nations, and with the efforts, hard work, and dedication of Team IOMUN, the dream is finally coming true. We have received around 500 registrations across the nation. ICFAI MUN stands for providing a platform to students across the nation to debate, discuss, and deliberate on matters of national and international importance. We at ICFAI MUN promote dialogue among various socio-political ideologies. Such dialogues are required for smooth functioning of society and nation. Team IMUN is committed to provide an exceptional debating experience, and I wish delegates all the very best for the upcoming debate. So without any further ado, I, Lavish Gangwar, Secretary General of ICFAI MUN 2022, by exercising powers vested in me, declares the conference open.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You may leave.
Sir, with Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and Honorable Registrar, sir, may I close the meeting regarding inaugural session?
Sure.
Your kind permission. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Monica Kola.
Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
Dear guests, you may discontinue from this meeting, and the participant delegate participating in ICFAI Model United Nations may continue and stay in this meeting room only. The session will start soon, and the organizing committee will revert back to you soon. Guests may continue.
I don't know. I think I am still at the 1 second. Uh, 1 second. 1 second. I'm
No, sir.
somehow not able to get out of this thing.
You are visible and audible, sir.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to.
कोई नहीं, sir. कोई नहीं. The blessing for us to have in this meeting.